What's up, people of the internet? My name is Dabacab, and we have just gotten the largest artifact leak so far, with more than 20 cards revealed. So stay tuned and we will dive right in. So an artifact streamer in China has completely broken the NDA and shown us in-game footage of the artifact client. So we've got UI, new cards, complete deck lists. We're going to dive right in and check out these cards one by one. Also, you can see the text of the lore, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not much of a lore guy. So if you really want to, you can pause the video and read the heavily pixelated text. You can just barely make it out. But for the most part, we're just going to go through and look at the cards themselves. All right, so this is the actual footage of the in-game client. I'm going to play through the video, and whenever we see a new card, we're going to stop, like right here, and talk about it. This is the Ogre Magi. He is a 3/7 blue hero, and his passive is, after you play a blue spell, there is a 25% chance to put a base copy of that card into your hand. Sorry, like I said, the text is super small and pixelated, so it's a little hard to read. Unfortunately, we can't make out his premier spell exactly. It's a 3-cost improvement that says, I think, ignite something, and it says deal 1 piercing, obviously, something each enemy. So this looks like some sort of AoE. I guess it's deal 1 piercing damage to each enemy in the lane. So it's sort of like a weaker conflagration. It deals 1 damage instead of 2, but it's piercing damage, so it will slowly whittle away against high block creatures and units. Next up, we've got Ursa. We've seen this hero before. He's a 7/10 red hero, but this is the first time we've seen his ability. His ability reads, when Ursa deals damage to a unit, modify that unit with -1 armor, which makes him kind of a nasty, like really brutal red hero slayer, because someone like Axe, Bristleback, they really rely on having high block. So he can sort of stack up damage in those pretty quickly. So then we've got Timbersaw. Timbersaw is a 4/11 red hero, and his passive ability is called Reactive Armor, and that it gives him +1 armor for each attacking enemy. His premier card is called Whirl Something, and it looks like it deals damage to either a target or a target with their like neighboring enemies, or it does something to do with a target and neighboring somethings and dealing 2 damage to some of them. Unfortunately, we can only see part of the card, so we can only speculate. If you have any ideas of what the card might read, let me know down in the comments, because obviously we all want to know what this card does. Next, we've got Bounty Hunter, a 7/7 black hero. Some of the best stats on black heroes that we've seen so far. And his passive ability is called Janata. Before the action phase, there's a 50% chance to give Bounty Hunter +4 attack this round, making him an 11/7 instead of a 7/7. His premier card is called Track, and it reads, so it says give a hero something. Could be anything, man, who knows? My guess, actually, I bet I'll know what it is. I bet it's give a hero +X bounty. I'll bet that's what it is. I bet it's like you play this on a card and it's like give a hero +10 bounty. So when you do kill him, he does, you get more gold from him. I'll bet that's it, actually. All right, moving on, we have Enchantress. Enchantress is a 4/8 green hero with the passive ability that's a continuous effect. Enchantress has +2 regeneration. Enchantress's allied neighbors have +2 regeneration. Her premier card is Verd something, probably Verdant something. It's a 5-cost improvement that says allies, who knows? My guess is allies have +X regeneration, +2, +4, whatever. That's just a guess, who knows? Now we've got our first non-hero card called Escape Route. This is a 1 mana cost black improvement. When you put it in a lane, it gives you a 1-turn active ability that is return an allied hero to the fountain. So it's basically 1 free scroll of town portal every single turn. This could be really useful for bouncing around between lanes. And in blue, we have a 1 mana blue improvement called Messenger Rookery. It also gives you a 1-turn activated ability. Choose an ally and you choose a combat target for it. So essentially you got an ally in the lane, you click this ability and you can decide if this guy points forward or left or right once each turn. Next up, we've got the Oath, a 3 mana cost black improvement. You cannot play spells or creeps while this is the active lane. If there's an allied black hero in this lane, allies have +4 attack. So essentially, if you put this in a lane, you can't play any cards except for items in this lane. But if you got a black hero, then all of your black heroes are much stronger. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward card. Definitely want to put this in just one lane though. Putting it in more than one lane and you will quickly run out of the ability to cast any cards and you'll probably lose the game. And here we have what looks like the deck loader. We can see that we have 5 total decks, 2 recent decks, 4 pre-constructed decks, and 1 user deck. So I'm not really sure what a user deck is. My guess is it's a deck borrowed from another user, like maybe a friend can loan you a deck, which would be an amazing feature. And then over on the right, it shows, I guess, the names, because it looks like we've got a little cursor there next to the top deck that allows you to rename the decks, but it looks like it just defaults to blue black, blue red, and I'm guessing this is not going to have the Hearthstone problem. We're probably going to be able to have more than 9 deck slots. So next up we have the black 5 mana creep card, Sister of the Veil. She is a 4/5 and has a 1-turn active ability. Choose a combat target for Sister of the Veil. I'm a little bit surprised to see this ability in black because choosing combat targets kind of seems like a red and blue thing from what we've seen so far, but I guess black can do it as well. So essentially she's kind of like a ganker. She can, you know, be in front of another unit, but if you need help killing someone else at one of the diagonals, you can use this ability and try and take out that target. Next up we have Heroic Resolve, a 2 mana red spell. Modify a red hero with, after you play a non-item card costing 2 or less, modify this hero with +2 health. So I'm noticing a little bit of a theme with red cards. I think the idea is this set has a lot of cheap, inexpensive red cards. So what you do is you play Heroic Resolve, and there's another sort of similar card that we'll go over in a minute that buffs your red heroes with more attack and health every time you play a red spell. So you just kind of chain gun spells out and make a red hero bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually just dominate the opponent. On that note, we have Rising Anger, also a 2 mana red spell. Modify a red hero with, after you play a non-item card costing 2 or less, modify this hero with +2 attack. I'm sorry, +1 attack. So like I said, the idea is you put Rising Anger and Heroic Resolve on a hero, and then, you know, use Double Edge, use another red spell that we're about to see in a moment called Fight Through the Pain, or Kraken Shell, and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. All right, next up, Bitter Enemies, a 2 mana black improvement. After the combat phase, remove a charge from Bitter Enemies. Before the action phase, if there are 0 charges on Bitter Enemies, deal 6 damage to both towers, and it starts with 3 charges. So if you draw this card late game, it's really not going to do much because it needs so much time to come online. But if you get this early, it can really punish those slower decks because they're going to be taking a lot of damage from this card. Next up, we have yet another 2 mana red spell called Pick a Fight. Choose an allied hero, it taunts, and then choose a combat target for it. So basically, all enemies in a cone point their arrows towards this card, and then you get to decide which of those 3 enemies it points its arrow at. Very flexible, definitely good for those sort of tanky heroes like Axe or Bristleback. More red spells, we have Fight Through the Pain, a 1 mana red spell that gives a red hero +2 armor this round and get initiative. Very, very similar to Kraken Shell. Kraken Shell also costs 1 mana and also gives initiative, but Kraken Shell gives permanent +1 armor, whereas this gives temporary +2 armor. So practically the same card, to be totally honest with you. Not a lot of difference between them, but I think the main appeal is that it's cheap, so when combined with cards like Heroic Resolve, it can quickly snowball out of control. We've got Hipfire. This card was actually revealed by the Play Artifact Twitter, so not exactly breaking news here, but we'll go over it anyways. It is a 4 mana black spell that gives you initiative and it deals 4 damage to a unit. Very, very similar to Pick Off. Basically, you give up the ability to deal damage across lanes, but you gain the initiative. So kind of a trade-off, very similar cards past that. Next up, we've got Path of the Cunning, a 3 mana black improvement that reads, after you play a black card, modify a random ally with +1 siege. Now, I'm actually making this commentary as I'm going through this video, so I haven't watched ahead. I don't know if there's also Path of the other 3 colors, but I bet you that this will be a recurring card theme. I bet you there's going to be a Path of the Wise, which is a blue card. I bet you there's going to be also a green and red one. So we'll have to see, but I think it's probably a pretty safe bet. Next, we've got Barbed Mail. This was also leaked a little bit earlier. The equipped hero has +1 armor and +2 retaliate. A lot of you have probably already seen it, so we're not going to dive too deeply into this card. Spring the Trap. This card was actually revealed through legitimate sources today, but just so happens we saw it on this leak as well, so we may as well go over it. It is a 7 mana cost red spell that summons 2 Centaur Hunters into any lane. This is a Centaur Hunter, so pretty impressive stats. So overall, this is a lot of stats to put in a lane, especially any lane. I think this is a pretty powerful card that has the potential to see a lot of play. Next up, we have Keen Folk Golem, a 6 mana red unit with the play effect discard your hand, but it comes at a whopping 13/13 body. So the basic idea with this deck that we're seeing is pretty straightforward. You play the 2 red cards on heroes that make them stronger based on each card cast. Then you chain gun out lots of really cheap 2 mana or less red spells to buff them up super strong. Then when you have no cards in your hand, you play Keen Folk Golem and you have a board filled with massive creep and massive heroes. Now onto Ravenous Mass, a 4 mana black unit. It is a pathetic 1/1 body, but it can get much bigger with its 1 cooldown active ability. Condemn Ravenous Mass's allied neighbors and then modify Ravenous Mass with their attack and health. Important to note here that it says allied neighbors, not just allied creeps, meaning this can kill heroes. So if you need to move a hero to another lane, you can drop this down right next to your hero, kill your hero. This thing will gobble up its stats and become massive. Great if you've got a hero like Axe in a lane. Axe, as strong as he is, the problem with him is that he tends to not go anywhere once he gets in lane because he's so freaking tough. Next card is a black 3 mana spell, Dirty Deeds. You deal 2 damage to the enemy tower for each of its improvements. Interesting card, definitely feel like it would be stronger against sort of like meta-based decks, but as it stands, I don't think we're going to see this in a lot of core decks just because it's too situational. Next, we've got Reptile Investments, a 3 mana improvement. Add a charge to Reptile Investments after the combat phase. You have a 1-turn active ability, get 4 gold for each charge, and then you condemn Reptile Investments. So the idea with this card is that you put this card down in a lane. Combat goes by, it gets a charge. Next combat, it gets a charge. Every single time combat goes by, the charge gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when you need it, you just pop that ability, get all that gold back, and hopefully buy a massive item with it. Next up, we have Bloodseeker, a 7/6, and he has a passive ability called Blood Oath. Fully heal Bloodseeker after a unit blocking it dies. So if you put some plus health items on Bloodseeker, he can become a nearly unkillable tank. His premier card, we can't really make out. It's a 5 mana spell, Blood something. You silence a unit and then you do +4 something involving it. Could be +4 block, +4 attack, who knows, +4 cleave. We can't really tell with the card blocking it. So from here, the user goes back into the deck selection and we can see a sparring match. He's trying to play against an AI and he goes straight into the match. And as I've said, I've actually not watched this before. Okay, so you can play against, interesting. So looks like the computer can actually, you can play against your own deck, which is a feature that not a lot of decks have, not a lot of games have. So that's actually super cool. I kind of like that. All right, so what we're seeing is a very cheap deck. We've got dual, not really any good dual targets here. He could Kraken Shell, but probably better to hold on to that. So I think we're probably going to see a pass. My guess, I can't imagine he's going to duel here. That'd be a complete waste of a duel. We got some, well, no, he's, go ahead and buffing him up. Don't really know why that was necessary because I don't think that this Tidehunter is going to be dying anytime soon. But maybe this is sort of the game plan of Red. Maybe this deck just wants to dump all of its cards as soon as possible so that when you draw the Keen Folk Golem, it will be, okay, so we've got Heroic Resolve. Our enemy Legion Commander has 10 health and hopefully he won't have any other, yeah, he's got no more red spells to cast. This is exciting. We have brand new gameplay footage. So we have a duel. We could duel that Tidehunter. It's not going to come close to killing him. I mean, it'll hurt him some, but this damn hero is so insanely tough. No, we just got a pass. What we need to do is get in the lane. Oh, that's interesting. So this guy selected his deck in such a way that he deploys with the 3 red heroes first and then brings in his 2 black heroes afterwards. I'm not really sure why he did that, because that means he can't... He's got 2 black spells in his hand, and if he had had just 1 black hero on the board, he could have cast at least one of those, start getting... What is that? Path of the Cunning, that could be free siege every turn, and actually can't make out that other card. So... Oh no. Okay, so the video clip ends there. That's as much as we're going to get. So super exciting. The leaks are coming. Cue the leak song. Anyways, let me know what you think about all these leaked cards. I tried to keep it kind of brief. I didn't want to go too in depth to each card, because otherwise this would be like a 50-minute video, because there's so many new cards. Anyways, let me know what you think about the cards down in the comments. Which of these cards is your favorite? Personally, I'm kind of liking the Keenfolk Golem. It's really aggressive, but I like the idea of playing a deck around it. You know, putting a lot of really fast, cheap chain gun cards in your hand, so you can just dump your hand and then play Keenfolk Golem and hopefully steamroll your opponent. So don't know how strong it is, but I'm very interested to try it out. Let me know what your favorite card is down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Dabacab out.